Yankee reporter, WFAN, Sweeny, Tiki, and Tierney. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, fellas. How we doing today?
We're doing awesome. Now, I would never do this. I would never berate you. I have no reason to berate you like Francesca would or cut you off for. But this, I don't know where this one's going, man, because I don't want to hear excuses. Not that you're going to give them to me, but here's what I need answers on. And here's what's bothering me the most. The Yankees, and I said this to Tiki the other day, are no longer built on meritocracy. And let me just fill that out, and you take me wherever you want. There's been too many guys who haven't earned it this year. They've been handed a status that they should not have. I know Gallo's gone. They ran him out every night just about. Didn't deserve it. Hicks, they run him out. Doesn't deserve it. Donaldson, premium spot in the batting order. They keep putting him there. Hasn't earned it. Even yesterday, Abreu pitching. Where's Marinaccio? Abreu didn't deserve it. Where is the old philosophy, you earn what you get with the Yankees?
Yeah, I think all of them are – I mean, you're lumping them into one thing, and it's hard to answer that. Individually, there are different reasons for them, and I'm not asking you to agree with them. I'm not telling you this is what I believe, and I think this is where, people start yelling at me online, is that I'm telling you, you ask me, why are they doing something? I tell you why they do something, and I hear, why are you defending them? I'm not defending them. I'm telling you the answer that you asked for. It doesn't mean that you're going to like it, and it doesn't mean that, you're right, I'm wrong, whatever. I'm telling you this is how it is. They're all individually different. I mean, Gallo they held on to until there was a time to move him, until there was a time to get a move for a replacement, which was Benintendi. You weren't going to make that deal until the last week in July when they made it. Abreu over Marinaccio is really hurting because Abreu hasn't taken advantage of this. But I think one of the factors here is that very recently, you used to be able to have a trade period in August that you could put players through waivers and still acquire them.
Yes. That's how they got Canseco, right?
But that was a mistake.
Yeah, no, I know. Trust me.
But
I know.
That period doesn't exist anymore. So you are no longer able to make any trades in August for major league players. So I think that forces, and I don't think just the Yankees are alone, but it forces you to not want to lose some inventory unnecessarily. So in order to make a move to get a player up here, they decide to keep Abreu rather than lose him because you don't get the chance to trade for another major league caliber player, and they sent Marinaccio down, who didn't deserve to be sent down. He'll come back up. Whenever he's eligible to come back up, I'm confident he'll come back up because he's an important piece here and works here. But
he's not that important because he's in a high leverage situation in a rubber match against a team you might play in the playoffs.
And he's in a high leverage situation because of the games leading up to it and the usage of those arms leading up to it.
Partly,
they were committed not to using certain guys, and they were short in the bullpen because of it.
I mean, and that creates doubt in our mind when we see these things not pan out. And so the question that I think as Yankee fans we need to ask is there doubt or faith that Aaron Boone's going to pull the right strings to get this team back on the path that they started the season on? Because now it doesn't feel like it.
I think what you're trying to move forward here is saying that if you had Holmes available and everybody else, all these other guys available, that you're still bringing Albert Abreu into that spot. And the answer is no, that's not going to happen. You're bringing in the guys that you have.
Yeah.
I think you're trying to – and listen, a lot of times you're talking about trying to bring these guys into low-leverage situations. Well, do you see how many close games the Yankees have been playing? Every game the Yankees play is a close game. There are no low-leverage situations. They're not losing 8-1. They're not winning 12-1. So when they're in every one of these situations, as much as you want to give these guys a soft landing, it's not going to work. And if you're committed to keeping your guys rested into the final weeks of the season so that they are fully effective then you're going to find yourself in a situation where, okay, Aroldis Chapman was supposed to be broken into low leverage situations, coming into tie games in the 6th or 7th inning. That's not exactly low leverage. Albert Abreu is the only one available in that certain spot, and unfortunately you're not winning by 6 runs, so he has to come into that game. So you're going to find yourself in these situations because each game ends up, kind of the way it does.
All right, so we're talking to Sweeny Murti, Yankees beat reporter here at WFAN, as piped in as anybody around the team, and really I love Sweeny, does great work. So stop berating him on Twitter. He's just telling you what he's he's connected the dots.
I think it's a clear distinction because you guys are allowed to say, this is what I want to see.
That's
and
right.
I'm trying to tell you what you're going to see.
No, I understand. Well, you're providing depth behind the reasoning of what they're doing, and it's up to us to disagree or agree. And the problem is we've been disagreeing way too much because a lot of the moves haven't worked out. Here's what I got to say about Brian Cashman. This could be an end-of-the-year thing. This could be a beginning of the year. This could have been during the winter. This could be now, and it's going to be now. Brian Cashman has developed a Hall of Fame executive resume. If people want to debate that, go ahead. He's got a ton of championships. I'm not debating that. But what I will say, Sweeny, he has shown zero instincts, two things that are killing this franchise, okay? They never develop young starting pitchers, ever, like top of the rotation guys, ever. And when they search in the bottom rack, the Klubers, the Paxtons, they never, the Kevin Browns, they never work out. So I'm asking you, if people think that Cashman's great at his job, how can you be great at your job when you can't do the thing that I think inarguably is the most important thing to building a team?
Yeah, and I think part of it is what you're always thrust into, and is that you're always in this 95-win range and playoff range, trying to break in a young starting pitcher. I mean, we say, I don't know how many times you're going to give a guy a chance. I mean, because I've seen it and you've seen it. A guy comes up, and the guys who become really good starting pitchers sometimes need a little bit of runway and sometimes need to be allowed to lose a little bit. If a guy loses a little bit here, you're not in a position where you're saying, okay, well, we're going to finish in fourth place this season anyway, so let's just let him go. Let's remember the Braves, okay? The Braves didn't, Braves had their young starters, and this is a generation ago.
Talking about Maddox, Smoltz, Glavine, those guys, Steve Avery.
Look at what Smoltz and Glavine did their first couple of years. They lost a lot, and they were allowed to lose a lot. If one of those guys, if I told you one of these, go look up Smoltz's first year, okay, with the Braves.
Yep.
It was 8-19 or something like that. If you had a starting pitcher here, you would never want to see him again if he had the first year, and you say, here's another failure. So there's a lot more working here sometimes. You're not wrong. They haven't developed frontline starters, but I also think what you're doing is you're always in this cycle of trying to get this team better right now.
Yep.
Sometimes you trade away guys. Listen, they traded away a bunch of pitchers that were in demand. Now, I'm not saying whether or not they become ace pitchers, but clearly the industry valued them because when other teams came trading for the Yankees, they asked for all of these pitchers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
can you? But
that
Sweeny,
is something. But when you're always churning, it's really hard to sit and develop and let that happen.
Okay, but they seem to be the only team that doesn't, and
I
they're.
would say they're the only team that doesn't, because I think we have a very high standard. We're talking about right now. You're saying, well, these shortstops better become Jeter. Really?
No,
they
I'm
better
not saying
become
that.
one of the top
I'm
six.
not saying that.
But you know how many people
ridiculous.
are? You know how many people are?
Well, but that's ridiculousness.
Well, they better become a consistent starter.
If I'm going to tell you, every starting pitcher has to be Andy Pettitte or Whitey Ford. Like this is the bar that people are setting, and if that's your bar, you're going to fail miserably.
Okay.
I'll go back and tell you there are reasons that Phil Hughes wasn't as successful as you wanted him to be, but if I will guarantee you, all 30 teams tell you that you drafted a high school pitcher with the 28th pick or whatever it was, and made him, and this is the career he had, they would take it every single time. It's just hard to become the elite guys, and that's where you start cherry picking.
Well,
that's where
I
you start
get that.
trying to trade for controllable guys, and they don't always work out.
They never work out, basically. And not always. They almost never work out, Sweeny.
They're coming in with a lot of pressure, and they're coming and trying to do it,
Oh,
and it hasn't worked.
pressure.
And plus, the guys that you also have to think about who's available, okay? Certain times the guys you want aren't necessarily available.
I understand that. Listen, can you explain to me, and by extension, everybody listening, us, how in the world, and please don't say he wasn't going to start a playoff game, under what measurement is trading a solid 29-year-old lefty, middle-of-the-rotation guy, okay, for a guy in a boot who's a fourth outfielder?
Yeah. I don't think he's a
Horrendous.
fourth outfielder. I think they view him as, first of all, you're talking about, remember we started, you're talking about the season, but Gallo and Hicks, okay, and all season long trying to replace them. Well, it took until July to figure out how to replace Gallo with Benintendi. Hicks is still here. Center field is a problem that they knew that they had a year ago. They weren't able to correct it. They weren't able to find it. Now, unfortunately, Bader has been hurt for about the last month and change, okay? Like the end of June, I think, is the last time he played. So he's got this injury that, okay, he's in a boot. You think that they would trade for a guy and say, well, we know he's not going to play for us all year. I mean, I think you do a little bit of diligence and say, okay, the hope is that he's going to be ready to play in September for you, okay? And you do have a little bit of a luxury with the record you have, the lead you have, blah, blah, blah. That's going to come at a cost. They were working to acquire other starting pitching along. I don't buy into this narrative that people have, I've checked around about this a little bit. People say, oh, Cashman goofed because he knew he had Pablo Lopez from the Marlins and pulled the trigger on the Montgomery deal. Brian Cashman doesn't operate that way. Mm-hmm. He never believes a deal is done until it's done. Okay, I think the cost of acquiring a guy that you needed to upgrade center field was a starting pitcher. I think they felt that they upgraded with Montas in the rotation. They felt that Severino's injury wasn't bad enough where he wasn't going to come back, so that unfortunately, every deal isn't, all right, let's give us my garbage for your player. I think it's always going to be coming at a cost that might hurt you.
Yeah.
Very rarely do the Yankees trade anybody off the major league roster in deals like this.
As the worst trade I've ever seen. It was the worst trade I've ever seen him make. Well,
you
conceptually.
can't say that until
I'm saying conceptually.
You can't say it until you see how it plays.
Well, true, conceptually, but he got off the plane literally in a boot, and then the team the guy they traded just beat him.
Yeah.
Listen, I could belabor this. That was a moronic trade.
It doesn't look good because the other guy hasn't paid off yet, and he wasn't going to pay off now. Mm-hmm. So I think what you're looking at is trying to figure out how to upgrade center field, because that's what they've tried to do. They made a pointed effort from the winter to especially defensively, improve up the middle. You saw what they did at catcher. You saw what they did at shortstop and second base, and center field was still an area where it didn't work. So that's where they still had to address. They had areas of concern. They added a starter. I know they got rid of one. They added 2 bullpen arms, and they added a center fielder who they hope will be with them in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Sweeny, it's easy to see why people think you're making excuses for the Yankees.
I mean, listen, but I'm telling you reasons, okay?
I know.
You can't ask me for reasons, and when I give you reasons, just call them excuses.
Yeah.
I mean, I can sit here all day and just tell you, well, this guy's that, whatever. You're right, but we're not having a fair discussion if I'm not telling you the other side.
Yes.
I'm telling you the other side. If you want to sit here and call me an excuse maker, you're putting a label on it. I'm giving you reasons.
I like the label. You're close to this team. This has been a really rough 30 games or so. What's the pulse of the Yankees clubhouse right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, they obviously are not playing very well. They've had terrible base running mistakes, as we saw the other night in extra innings. I mean, I don't think. Have you ever seen?
Not once.
You get gifts. You get a gift in extra innings, and all 3 times that extra guy got erased.
That was reprehensibly
ridiculous.
bad. It was
They're
pathetic.
in a terrible stretch right now where their pitching has regressed a little bit. They're giving up a lot more home runs than they used to, which is a big thing. Their lineup is depleted right now. Okay, you have some guys who have been out, like Stanton. Rizzo was out for a little while in 2 different occasions. Stanton's injury hurts. Carpenter's injury hurts. The lineup is a little low. So I think you're dealing with a lot of, and the injury in the bullpen with Michael King certainly had a trickle-down effect.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things are going wrong. They're losing a lot of close games. They won a lot of close games in this stretch. Overall, you're still talking about roughly about a 40-game stretch here, 45-game stretch, which they're basically a 500, a little under, right? It's not unusual, even in championship seasons, for this to happen. If you go back a little bit, even just go back 5 years, right? The 2017 team played, no lie, 100 games between May and August where they were a 500 team. And then they got hot again in September and made it happen. The 96 team, who we all, we look back fondly on, had a 12-game lead that dwindled down to, I think, 2 at one point. Sky was falling. They rebounded, picked it up. Here's the problem that you see here. When they play this badly, you can never, ever foresee them coming out of it.
Yeah.
But good teams do, and good Yankees teams in the past have. They've all weathered these storms, and they're not all – and now, granted, it's been a while, and one championship and blah, blah, blah. I understand that, so it's hard to see that. But you will never, ever foresee a player or a team getting better when they're in the middle of this. Tiki, I'll take it back to you. When you're fumbling, does anybody ever say, oh, he'll be fine. He'll get out of it.
Yeah.
Just give him time.
Yeah.
You want
Coach
to
Fossil
see it
did.
end. Yeah.
The fans wanted to run you out of town,
believe
though.
in you, right?
Yeah.
It
No,
took
of
somebody
course.
to believe in you.
Yeah, or change mechanically. No, you're right.
He's not wrong. I get that, and we got to roll. By the way, that's Sweeny, a Yankee beat reporter here on the Fan.
Hey, listen, do me a
Yes,
favor.
yes,
Do me a favor.
yes.
Can you call me when they're winning sometime? Why
Yeah.
am I the guy you call just to complain about?
No,
Huh?
we just know you're going to give us the right answer.
Oh, stop.
And by the way, I'm going to leave you on this. I understand, and you left out the 2000 season where the Yankees really stumbled down the show. Okay, and they regenerated. I agree. In baseball, when you don't hit, you look lethargic. It feels terminal, and it's not. There's enough evidence. But bottom line is this. Without Aaron Judge's heroics, this is an 81-win team. This team is not nearly special, and I'm not going to say that I'm not going to declare them dead now. That's moronic here. But looking at this team, I don't see any chance how they win the World Series. I don't see it.
I think. Well, but
I don't see it.
They're not playing well enough for you to see it. That's the problem. If I showed you one of these stretches in 2000 or 96 or 2017,
But they had
you would
different
tell me the
players,
same thing.
Sweeney. They had more accomplished players that you could invest trust in.
Oh, of course. Listen, but it's also kind of dumb to say if without Aaron Judge, they're this. I mean, yeah, take away any team's best player, they're not nearly as good.
But yes, literally, but nobody has been so dependent this year in baseball like the Yankees have been on Judge. That is not an erroneous statement. It's true.
I think every good team relies on their best player.
No, I agree, but not as much as the Yankees rely on Judge.
And here's the other thing. Like I'll take this back to John Daniels, the president of the Rangers.
Hurry up.
Said this a long time ago, and I've never forgotten it. One of his best players was taken out of the lineup, and somebody said, "How are you going to replace him?" He said, "There are no contingency plans for your best players.
Yeah.
Your best players are your best players, and if they don't perform the way they're supposed to, well, then you're not going to be as good as you're supposed to." That goes for Garrett Cole. That goes for Aaron Judge. That goes for Clay Holmes and Aroldis Chapman. All these guys. It's hard to replace those guys because they're supposed to be your best players.
I don't care what the hell John Daniels said. I'm not going to feel better until the Yankees start playing
all
better
right, listen,
baseball.
just do me a favor. Call me when they're winning.
We will.
I'm tired of you just bitching at me all the time. Just call me when they're winning.
Hey, you know the nature of sports radio.
No. I have a job here. It's to come on and talk about the Yankees. Talk to me when they're winning too.
You know what? That's a deal, brother. Good job.
Yeah.
Love you.
Right.
Love you, Sweeney. Good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweeney.
He's the man. I love those fiery exchanges.
Sweet.
People saying he's holding the water for the Yankees. That's not right. Tiki, what are you doing?
I didn't say.
You kind of implied it.
I said I can understand why people think that you're giving excuses for what's going on.